What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, and you know what time it is. It is time for the He Say, She Say Singles Chat with YLC. I am Jen. There's Dana to the next of me, and then there's Lawrence, Dr. Shonda, and then we have Elisha. Today is
The
Elisha's
birthday boy.
birthday.
Yes, sir.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Happy birthday.
To you. We
Thank you,
love you
thank you.
so much. And
Thank
it's
you.
just an honor to be here with you on your birthday. Like, you could have been anywhere in the world with
And-
Corona, but you decided to be here with us. So we love you so much. So happy birthday. If you guys are coming in, make sure you wish Elijah a happy birthday. So for the next 30 seconds, we're going to go ahead and share. Let all of your friends know. Hey, Adelia, we love you. Thank you so much for your continued support. Hey, y'all. Latasha, I see y'all coming in. What's up?
Greensboro.
Go ahead and share.
Where y'all watching from?
Yes, talk to us. Let me share because I be running my mouth and I be forgetting.
Right.
Like, oh,
I'm going to share to a couple of singles groups too.
All right. So share. Let us know when you have shared. Okay. Let us know when you have shared.
Flint. Shout out to Flint, Michigan in the chat.
Wow. Corey, how are you, my love?
Rochester. Hey, I gotta ask about Rochester. Are those garbage plates everything everybody say they are? Let me know. Stamford,
What?
Connecticut, what's up? So if you're not heard, there's this thing called a garbage plate from Rochester. It's this dish that supposedly has like everything in the world on it. That's supposedly like really good. It's like a staple in Rochester.
Wow.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Have to go. Let's go to New York and try. Well, after this COVID.
Hey, look,
Okay.
all of y'all come on. We all roll over together. Y'all know I'm already up here.
Wait.
Okay,
I'm so mad that you
everything.
California down again.
Jacksonville. Okay, Florida. Y'all gotta chill. Florida, y'all gotta chill on the y'all wilding out right now.
Wilding out. They've been wilding from the start.
Right. Okay, London.
What's
International
up,
tonight.
Yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Okay, Ramel. He says the garbage plate is everything. So that means we're gonna have to do a he say, she say review of the garbage plate at some point. We got to get everybody up here.
What's on
That
the
sounds
garbage
like
plate?
a
I don't know if I
great
want to
idea.
eat anything.
Right, it
that's
doesn't sound appetizing.
No, well, Dr. Shonda can't eat it. She don't eat meat.
Oh, it's a meat plate. Okay.
It definitely has meat on it.
Thanks, Corey. Got a new weave for the girl.
That is funny.
There was immediate deflating of the bubble. She was like, oh.
He
You
said,
know
What?
I'm
No,
sure they
baby,
make them.
I don't want to
They
eat.
probably got some kind of vegetables on there.
Oh,
No.
okay, we got another person from Rochester in the house.
that's
What's
hilarious.
up, Indiana? Indiana, I can't talk tonight. What's up, y'all? We see y'all in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much
Indiana.
for joining us. Again, make sure you tell Grandpa Elijah happy birthday in the comments.
Politician.
Huh?
She
My
said the
God,
garbage plates
tonight.
are great.
Hey, listen, we got nothing but positive reviews. We're gonna have to check this out.
I have to make that trip.
I don't know. Thank you guys for sharing. So Lawrence is going to kick us off in the He Say, She Say. I'm like a rapper.
Okay, let's do it.
What is going on, Anthony?
They coming for you early.
What is going on?
My God.
flattened tires. What?
They come up with
turn
dinner
up.
early.
I wanted to be soft tonight, but I got a lot on my chest. But
Uh-oh.
People working early.
I don't flatten tires. I do think somebody keyed my car though, but y'all.
What?
I hate that. I hate that. That's so rude.
But I don't know. So last year, this time I was being stalked. So I don't know if it happened then. I just never paid attention. But I have a keyless car. Thank you, Wakeisha. Thank you for having my back in the comments. Thank you. Because these people ain't loyal. And I just so happened to be paying attention, and there's so many scratches on my car that literally looks, thank you, that literally looks intentional. And I really think somebody keep my car because I don't even have a key. So why would it be so many scratches?
Right.
But the shade is, if you keep my car and I didn't even notice, you look dumb. But still, like I have scratches. I don't know. So y'all pretty much done.
If we got a ride, let us know. We gonna ride. We pull up.
You know I'm already set it up.
We pull up.
Okay. I be trying to be a
You hear me?
but I can't.
Yeah. All right, let's start
you
off.
trying to be a out of bed.
Let's start off with some he say, she say, this or that. All right.
I'm gonna make choices. I'm gonna make choices this time.
Yeah, please do. All right, so dog or cat?
Dogs.
Bow wow wow.
What was that, E?
Like if I gotta pick one, dog.
Okay.
First
good.
of all, let me just go on record to say, and this is very not right, but I don't trust men with cats. So if you have a cat, please don't try to date me. I think you're sneaky like your cat. I don't
know about that
you
one.
move like your cat. I don't want no man with cats.
I don't know about that one.
I don't
Like
do
a
cats
cat.
and minivans.
Thank you, Corey. Dog Adelia. Thank you. Yeah, make sure y'all are playing in the comments. Let us know what you think. All right, so here we go. Number 2, Netflix or YouTube?
Ooh.
That's good.
Hulu.
Yo.
What you think, man?
Netflix for me.
No.
I'll go YouTube because I watch so many podcasts while I work, and then I do so much studying for basketball and things of that nature. So I think I could go without Netflix, but I'm not sure I could go without YouTube.
I think I'm gonna go with YouTube too.
A lot of people in the comments going Netflix. Okay, Jen, you got YouTube?
Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of people
I think I'm
going
gonna do YouTube only because I can purchase movies on Netflix if I want to. So sometimes if I really want some tea or if I want to learn how to, it's just so much with YouTube.
Jailbroken Fire Stick.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I'll say about Here's what I say about Netflix. Go ahead, Dana.
I like Netflix to just be able to like binge watch series.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's where we gotta get you hooked up on a Fire Stick. I got you. Don't worry about that.
Is that can you say that? Wait.
My God.
Okay, let's not talk. But
because you know, at any moment the principal will pop up, and I'm tired of being in the principal's office.
He will.
Please.
He will.
Okay.
We can figure the Fire Stick out. All right, but here's my thing with I would have said YouTube before maybe a couple of weeks ago, but YouTube does this thing now with these ads where like some of them are like 6 minutes long and you can't skip over them anymore. So
Really?
yeah, so like or at least on videos that have like really valuable information, right? So I used to watch YouTube videos to learn a lot, and now the ads are ridiculous. So I mean, you got to plan in the time that you wanted to watch the video. You got to plan for the ads now. So that's why I'm gonna go Netflix on that. All right.
They started adding commercials in the middle of some of the preaching stuff I like to watch too. I was like, y'all get on my nerves. You be all like high in the spirit, and then some stupid old commercial come on.
Right. And they doing that intentionally too. All right. I know probably what all of y'all gonna say on this one, but Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook. Tweet what?
Neither.
Tweet what?
Facebook.
It
Instagram.
depends on how I'm feeling.
Depends on how you feeling.
I'm a Facebook gangster, but Twitter,
You
I
really
don't have that many followers there. So when y'all really get on my nerves, don't follow me there. Don't follow me there because that's when I can just really just let off some steam if I want to, and it's like I'm talking to the air. But I Facebook is like my favorite.
My Facebook lit. I really was an Instagrammer, so I don't know what happened, but Facebook came in took all the shine.
Look, I don't know if y'all aren't on Twitter. There has been a resurgence of Twitter. Twitter is absolutely it's alive, and like I think there's some good parts about it and some bad parts about it. but Twitter is like it's live over there. Like the community is strong on Twitter. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. All right. Let's do one or two more. All right. So let's go ice cream or snow cone, and snow cone includes Hawaiian ice.
Ice cream.
We call it water ice where I'm from, but
Water ice.
Water ice.
You call it water ice.
Y'all
Water
never
ice.
ice. We don't have snow cones. Like we have water ice.
It's water ice. All right. You just know that water and ice are the same thing, but okay.
Wait, hold on. Say it again.
Water ice. Y'all never had a water ice?
First of all,
I think they say the same thing in Baltimore.
we have water where we're from. There's
Oh,
water.
Water ice.
I don't know what this water is.
All right. So in terms of where, like, if you could pick any place you wanted to live, 2 categories, this or that, city or country.
It depends.
I'm going country. I'm going country with access to the city.
Oh, that's what you meant. Ooh, I had a moment. I don't even want to tell y'all what I was thinking. But
will we need the principal this early?
Pick a country you want to live in. You didn't even say this. It just totally my mind. Do you want to pick a country you want to live in, or would you rather pick a city?
That's
like,
what I thought you meant.
City house. I think I'm city house.
Nah,
Yes.
like you could live in an environment. Would you live in the country or live in the city?
It's your country.
I think I would live in the country, bro.
I'm a city girl.
I love this.
I think I'm a city girl. Yeah.
I used to be a city boy, but that's all
Not
right.
the city girl.
I like
Just
quiet.
the city girl.
Look,
Quiet.
for me, I gotta be able to pull out, like, and just relax and not be surrounded by a lot of people. I am such an introvert that just knowing that there's somebody that close to me next door is a problem for me. So I need some space. But okay, cool. Appreciate y'all playing in the comments. It seems like a lot of people are saying country. They want land. They want to be. They want space. I like that. That was.
I'm with you, Sharon. Keep me near a hospital and stores. Yes.
Yeah.
Because
All
the
countries are
country
not
my
created
grandma
equal.
lived,
At all.
I'm unable.
Yeah.
And I love them. I love all my cousins. I love them. But the mall is 45 minutes away. The hospital
That's too far.
is an hour. Unless you want to go to the 20-minute dollar movie, I can't. I'm unable. So.
First of all, 45 minutes is not too far.
It's not.
To go to the mall?
That's too much.
I mean, so
Wow.
I'm in the country. I'm not in the country, but it's country enough, and everything is pretty much far from me. But I tell you what, like when you drive back into the city, you feel such a peace just from the area that you're like, it's really hard to give that up just because you know you're able to just relax. It's quiet. You're not hearing a bunch of noise. Like so, it works for me.
God bless y'all. I'm unable. I'm still unable. Now, I live on the suburbs of Washington, D.C., so it takes me about literally 15 minutes to get into the city. I can do that. But I am unable to, what if I need a good pair of stockings, a pair of shoes? Like, I literally have to create an entire event to go to the mall. I'm not able to do that. No.
He said if I go to stockings.
I don't even know why I said that because I don't even wear stockings. That was for y'all because I don't even know what I think I'm just in the mind frame of holiness. You know, like last minute things you be having to do, but I don't. God bless y'all. So let's get into our conversation tonight. Y'all, I am so fired up. I've been on fire all day, so I'm trying to calm down. But I think I want to talk about some of the myths and misconceptions with Christian singleness. So what is one thing that you are tired of hearing about singleness? Because I feel like everybody view singleness as this pause in life, and that most of us do want companionship, because there's nothing wrong with that. I am real safe with Keisha. God bless. Thank you for noticing my salvation. I'm trying to tell y'all, I'm a clown, but I am saved, okay? In this pink lipstick. But anywho, I think that we think that everybody's trying to get to the next step, that I think there is a lot of disrespect that happens, with singleness, and I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. So I'm gonna tell y'all what I'm tired of, but I want to hear what y'all, because I can go off. Today I'm on edge. I'm really on edge today. I'm tired. So let's go. What y'all tired? Give me a myth, or you want me to start?
Please.
One of the things, so I got triggered today, because one of the things that I'm tired of is this concept that you're not whole because you're single. So people say, wait and get whole while you're single and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first of all, wholeness is not a destination. It's a journey. Like every day we are rediscovering parts of ourselves. We are improving for Jesus, right? Like there are parts of us that he exposes in our lives that needs to be completed. But I think this concept of wholeness really bothers me, because we have this misconception that married people are perfect, right? So if I say that I need to be saved, that I need to be whole in my singleness, that means that when I do get a partner, when I do get married, a husband, that we're both of us are whole, and now we're ready. And I'll be like, shut up. Like, just please. Is it too much? Am I right? Y'all feel me? Like, I'm just tired of this part, this concept that I am not enough, that I'm missing something. I'm waiting on my better half. I'm not a fraction. I'm not just walking around as a percentage of something. I am a whole person, right? Like, no, really, some days I just get worked up in my soul, because it's just really like, these are a lot. Like, where did y'all get this from? Like, we're constantly pursuing Christ, right? Like, we're constantly, and that's in whatever journey, whether you're single or married, like, we're constantly in pursuit of our wholeness and getting better, so that will happen now. And when I get a partner, right? So it's just, I don't know. So that's, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
I hated the first time I was ever disqualified as a person because I was no longer married. So when I first inherited the singles ministry, I had done this, my first KCU class was at our convention, right? And so we always have like pastors from other places come and blah, blah, blah. And, everything that I do, I believe in having Scooby snacks. So, we had like breakfast and coffee and all this wonderful stuff, right? So everybody was coming into our space because we had all the Scooby snacks. And I remember one of the pastors saying something to the effect of, I'm so proud of everything that you've done with your daughters. You're doing a really great job in ministry and all these wonderful things. I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, so what's going on in here? And I said, well, we're having the single stuff in here. And he's like, what? I thought you were married. I said, yeah, I was married, but now I'm single. I was like, why would they put a married person over singles ministry? And he said, well, single people don't know nothing.
Ooh, my temperature.
I was ready to. Now, see, I'm generous, but I was about to slap that coffee out of his hand. And what other man of God? I was like, you just told me that my daughters are amazing, that I'm doing great things in ministry, and all of a sudden, because I'm not married anymore, single people don't know nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I feel. I'm trying not to set it off.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very.
And to be clear, it was not my pastor. My pastor knows better. He's smart, but he was still.
Oh, we know. We love Bishop Moore.
But that myth right there, though, Dana, goes into the same myth that Jen was talking about, because that specific position assumes that all singles, what they want to know is how to get out of singleness.
Right.
And it's like, so why would I want somebody who's in singleness to help me get out of it? So it's like, no, you missed the point. It's not about getting out of a particular state or station in life, but it's about how you steward it. And I think one of the myths that that I think I'm particularly I guess bothered by, or however you want to say it, is the notion.
I'm scared.
The notion that everyone who's single is, and this is kind of connected, but it's kind of nuanced. It's that the notion that somehow everyone who's single doesn't want to be.
Sure.
So it's like,
yeah,
I can't tell y'all how many times I've gotten that where it's like, you mean to tell me like you haven't been able to find somebody by now, or like you haven't been able to whatever, and it's like, yo, what if I'm not even on that right now?
Yep.
You know, like what if that's not something that I want in my life right now? Is that okay? Right? It's as if singleness is a sickness that we should try to avoid.
Right.
When in fact, and I don't want to go down that route too much, but it's something that we are encouraged to do as long as we possibly can. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. I don't like the notion that when you look at me and you don't see a ring on my finger or I'm not married, that somehow I'm only that way because it's against my will, like I haven't been able to. And it's like, no, I'm more than able, more than capable. But it's just that maybe that ain't the time for me right now. There are other things that I'm focused on. There are other things that I'm building right now. Maybe, I don't even want to go.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Because you basically saying like, because I think you had the polished version, but basically I'm single because I can't get nobody. The devil is a liar. Let me tell you something.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I don't want to get kicked off the show, but maybe. And for anybody who is watching, because I think that sometimes our insecurities or just things that
wow.
Wow. Wait, what happened? Hold on.
Wow.
Wait, what do you say? Go back. Your daddy has someone. I'm not getting.
Come on.
Oh, that's
Come on.
I totally missed it.
First of all.
God bless you, Bishop.
No.
Funny.
Dad, you already have your grandchild. You got Avery.
Why do you do that?
He said, hold up, 1 second. No, you have to hurry up. Okay.
Y'all were crying for the shooters last week. Listen, the shooters are here. Huh?
That's so cute.
That's funny.
Come on.
Hey, look, let me keep family business family, but Dad, you already know.
Ooh.
You already know that ain't what we about over here. We ain't doing that one. Thank you, Waukesha. Shoot, y'all over here amping my dad up, amping the bishop. Leave him out of this. First of all, this is the first time, at least as far as I've known, this is the first time that he has commented on one of these things. That's number one. And then number two,
He said that.
Tracy, if he comments again,
he said, "Come on."
Here's great.
Of it.
Oh my God.
Hey, he'll act out. He'll act out in the chat or in the comments, but then like when he's talking to me, he ain't gonna tell me to rush nothing. We ain't hurrying nothing up.
Well, no, I don't think it's about rushing, but I think, like you said, it's this notion that it's not that you can't get someone, and anyone who feels like that is not the case. Like even if you feel like, there are some things you don't like about yourself, baby, you could get a filter and get on an app and get you a person if that's all it's about. That is not what it's about. Like.
Yeah.
And conversely, then for all the people who are out there single, feeling like they're never going to find somebody or that there is no one who wants them, I'm like, you're single by choice because there's somebody who wants you. You just don't want. You just haven't chosen them.
Right.
Look, right.
Because we know Dana told us there's a lot of people that want her.
Oh my God.
Not at all.
There are people that want Dana and she doesn't want them. So let me tell you, whether it is voluntarily or we all got a choice, okay?
Exactly.
All right. And with the right angle and with the right muscle shirt, you can
My
get somebody
God.
else. Okay, so we're not. That's not why you're single. Okay, so I want
Right.
you to feel. I want you to feel some esteem tonight. All right.
Right.
But you know what? You on those lines, because there's always that whole thing. Oh, you're so pretty. Oh, you're so smart. How come no one has snatched you up yet? How come you are still single? As though ugly people don't get married. As though dumb people don't get married. Like,
That's
Let's
something.
just no cap, right? Like let's just be honest.
That's something.
There are some people.
man, you ain't got no filter.
I mean, let's just be
I'm
honest.
just saying.
But this is the thing. So we created marriage as this thing that is only for beautiful, smart, successful people, blah, 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 whatever.
And I feel like
Go ahead, doctor.
I feel like, can we please stop making marriage like it's an accomplishment? Like, this might be controversial, but I don't see
there it is.
accomplishment, period. Like, I see careers as an accomplishment. Like, those are accomplishments to me. Granted, marriage is amazing. It's of God, and that's something that I strive to get one day, but it's not something that I'm not losing out because I'm not married yet. And I feel like as women, we get this a lot after a particular age. I would say around that age 25, people start asking you, "Oh, why are you still single? You haven't found your husband yet?" Since I'm not looking, like what's going on? So I think we definitely need to stop doing that in the body.
I agree. That was in the body, in his body. I definitely agree, and that was going to be my point, which is, when you say that, it's not like we started it, but I believe we must be the ones to end it, because historically, marriage is looked at as the ultimate accomplishment. For the wife, it's the ultimate crown jewel. You're a mother. You're a wife. You finally made it. And in this time, in this generation, what we're saying is, no, that's no longer the norm. Success is success, whether I have someone or whether I don't. And I think right now it's about normalizing that to where we don't feel like you're less than until you're married. We don't feel like you're less than until you have children. Like, that's like okay, you finally did it. No, as soon as you put your imprint on this world, you finally did it. And that has nothing to do with, being married or being in a relationship. You can be completely successful and completely single and loving your life. It's possible, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise.
Exactly.
And let me say
And
this
also,
too,
not
'cause
just. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna just drop it and leave it alone. I ain't gonna go into it. But a lot of times, the same ones who are talking about why haven't you yet are the same ones who've been in something that they don't want to be in. But we
That's it. Are in currently.
Sure.
Don't make me so
wanna-
miserable because you miserable. Right.
I also want to bring this up. It's not just about success, but God sees us the same, right?
Mhm.
And I always say that it's not just about what this world about, societal norms, but God is sovereign. And I think that sometimes we think that we have this lateral progression in our mind. So we think, oh, you're single, you're down here, and then you find a spouse, and then you have some kids, and then you get a bomb job and stuff like that. And it goes like this. That is a lie. God is sovereign. He does not value one of his children over the other. So because he's sovereign, he sees us like this. And he basically, whatever your portion is, he is admonishing you, and he wants you to steward it well. Period. So it's not this war against married, against single, or whatever the case may be. Whatever your portion is, steward it well. So if you're in a beautiful, loving, godly marriage, we bless God for that. Like I tell y'all all the time, I have to say it often because I don't want people to think like, I'm against. My parents been married 48 years. We have a lot of, your families have been married, 30, 20. We know what that looks like. So God bless that. But I'm okay with that not being my story. And guess what? God is okay with that too. Because ultimately, he is sovereign. He's over my line. Period. Sorry. Calm down.
It's my Bible study again.
No, I'm just saying because what happens is it leads to this feeling as if I'm not enough. And if you feel like you're not enough because you have not gotten to this place in life, if you're not careful, you'll begin to manipulate and maneuver pieces in your life that God didn't intend for you to do. So you find yourself in stuff that you're not supposed to be in for the sake of having a partner, when God literally is like, well, I have a better choice for you, but because you want to be seen as having an accomplishment, or you want to be on the couples dates, or you want to have relationship goals with tennis shoe pictures and things like that, then you start doing things outside of God's timing, and that is very dangerous. So you have to be clear and know who you are and where God has you, and be okay with your season. It's okay. Go your time. Because some people are not gonna get married, but we don't want to talk about that. God bless y'all.
Happy birthday to you, John Faulkner. If you share with Elisha that today is your birthday, happy birthday to you.
Bless you, man of God. Bless you.
Happy birthday. Oh, he's shady. I don't know if I'm gonna tell him happy birthday. He's shady.
Here's something else though that I think it kind of goes along these same lines that we're talking about now. Some certain things that bother me. I also feel like something that bothers me in particular about singleness, especially when you start talking about people who are in church who are connected to singles, is that people who aren't single feel as though my singleness is an invitation for your advice, and it's not. Like, I'm not.
I like that.
In hearing what you feel I should be trying to go get, or who I should be trying to go get, right? Because, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times the same people who are freely offering this advice are the ones who have so much commentary about my relationship status, are the same ones who aren't happy with theirs. So I'm not willing. So one of the best pieces of advice that changed my life was never take advice from someone who's poor in an area that you want to be rich. I want to be rich in my relationships. So I'm not rushing into it, number one. But then number two, I'm also pretty particular about who I'm taking counsel and advice from about my relationships. So my relationship status, my singleness is not an open invitation for you to come in and tell me based on what you think about me or what air I breathe to you, who I should be with, who I should talk to. Oh, you like this. You should be talking to somebody like this, or you need some. That is not an open invitation. I'm good on that. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna add to that, and I'll say, most of us have been in church or been around church either all our lives or for the majority of our lives. It's a good portion, right? And we've seen a lot of the things behind the scene that make us go, yeah, I'm not settling for that.
That's real.
I'm never going to be a part of this right here. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow myself to be entangled with this kind of situation. And so while that's our thought, while that's our process, we are looking not only to love, but we're looking to our future in a very different way than our predecessors did, right? We're looking to make sure that we're not dealing with some of the same issues that we've seen. And so as a result, we're really, really picky, but not necessarily, I don't even think not necessarily about our preference. We're picky about our standards. We are not accepting, especially those that are on the screen and a lot of us that are in the comments, we're not accepting less than what the standards need to be in order to pursue a healthy relationship over time, and not just a relationship to be in them. Yes, some of the people that we know and parents and things of those nature, they've been in relationships for 40, 50 years, but we know the truth is one of them been miserable for at least 30 of them.
Not all of them, but some.
Not all of them.
Get no help.
Because that's not a fair statement, because everybody married isn't miserable either.
Not all of them, but some of them.
No, and you can't even say that's the majority of them either. Because there are seasons of marriage, having been there are seasons of marriages where you want out, where you want to stay in, where you want to fight for it. Everybody has that. One or both of them wants to get out at some point.
Well, there you go. I mean,
it is their commitment level to God that is keeping them together. you
I
can't
agree.
you can't disparage what we have seen as an example, because what you have actually seen is good, in that they're saying, I'm going to put my personal happiness aside for this in order to make this union work. And that's actually something admirable. And that's actually something that is kind of taken away from people nowadays, because we think we're going to hold out for the perfect, our standard of whatever, and that's going to make our relationships great and wonderful, and we're going to be happy all the time. And that is simply not the case.
Yeah. I agree with Alicia. I think you guys are saying the same thing, in that sometimes married people do envy single life in certain seasons. It's because of like the hardships of marriage. So yeah, I definitely see that.
But I don't know if we have. Do y'all think we have the same or more standards and preferences than the generation before?
No.
We have more. I think we have more options. The world is much smaller now than it was then. You know, so like I have access to someone who I've never met before via the internet, right? Like the world is so much smaller now that the world is open to us. We have more options. There are more people that we potentially could meet versus which could, I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole of how that could be some paralysis for some people. But in terms of the part about like other people and like where they are, like in terms of their generation, they didn't necessarily have that, right? Like they didn't, some people that we know, right? So I mean, Jen, you said your parents been married for how long?
48 years.
48 years. Like they didn't have the internet to meet over.
They didn't, but they travel. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I think the core of what I want is still the same of what my mom wanted. Like, I think that, you know, because like some people, and I always use them as my example because they were a good example, you know, for me. So like, I don't have that testimony of, you know, people seeing stuff at home that wasn't at church and stuff like that. Like, they are legitimately best friends. Like, my mom was in the hospital and all she wanted was my father, right? Like, so it's like, I don't know. I think me and her really want the same things, but I do think that it's a wider, it's different. It may be like we want the same thing at the core, but the world is different, right? So I don't know. Like, my dad was an ambitious man. Like, I just want ambition, protection, the basic stuff. Like, I really don't require a lot, even though it may appear that I do. Like, I really don't. Now, you're not about to play with me, but like, I really don't. I really don't. Like, I really am the core of who I am, I think, is the same desires that my mom had when she met my father. Somebody that will love you, cover you, protect you.
Yeah.
You know,
we all want the basic, we all want the same thing. We want someone we can trust. We want someone we can love. We want someone who's going to be honest. We want somebody who's going to be faithful. Those things don't change.
Right.
But I just think our method of meeting people changes. Like Lawrence was saying, our scope is different now.
Too many choices. Did she freeze on y'all?
Yeah. She froze a little bit. She coming back though. In the name of Jesus, she coming back. Yeah,
pray on that connection.
We're gonna pray on the connection. Oh, she be back.
Yeah,
I just think that it's just it's I don't know. It's just like the world is different, and I think sometimes the pressures for the world make us feel like it's so complex, and I don't think it is.
Right.
I think I don't know. I'm still trying to process that. It because I was really upset with Christian men today. We'll talk about that, you know, later.
Wait, hold on, what?
What happened?
Come on, this is.
So, you know,
come on.
So let's talk about this. So today on Facebook, I talked about this notion of Christian playboys because I think the core of what I want is the same of what my mother wanted, right? But I think the core of maybe men and some women, I guess the dynamics, I don't know, have changed. And I think the male to female ratio and this idea of options, which is true, and more access. That's what I want to say. Access. We have more access to the internet and access to more people. Doesn't like we just have all this mess that doesn't have to be that. And today I was just thinking about the Christian Playboy, and I just went off because I just feel like not y'all, because y'all have proven to be men from outer space that we've never met before, but the rest of them, playing women and this like superstar status, like because of the male to female ratio, like men really be thinking that they are the favor, and you're worthy, you're valuable. I'm not about to have that war tonight. We love you, all of that good stuff. But it just, it makes me very upset. So yeah. But I love y'all. That's it. I wasn't going in on dudes. I was trying to save my sisters. That's all.
So, but what I feel like there's more there because you said that you were particularly annoyed. So there had to have been something that happened.
It's not necessarily something, like my heart is singing this. So this is not something that I just do. Like this is really like a ministry and a passion for me. So when I tell y'all my ears be to the streets, like people always, for some reason, they tell me their business, their relationships stuff. They tell me everything. And then when I feel like my sisters are being played, or that they shut up, Anthony, or that there is something coded that has not been said, like I'm the one to say it. Like what's up? Like, and I'm over it. So that's just kind of where I am. So I think to round it back to what we were talking about, I just think that this level of access doesn't make us make the best choices, male and female.
This is true
when it comes to relationships.
I can agree with that.
My dad just texted me.
What he say? I'm in trouble.
No, I am. He said, "You are definitely the Christian Playboy."
Oh no!
Daddy brought it out.
He is right.
Oh no!
Okay, so let's talk about this. Because I feel like that's funny though. That's the fact
bless
that
you, Bishop. I perceive you to be a wonderful man of God because you
that's crazy.
My dad is hilarious. Like if we both. So I grew up watching Sanford and Son with my dad, and like we have some of the craziest humor moments. But here's right, John. Like that ain't right.
Hold that spirit out. That's how you get the.
Hey, hold on. Don't go there, L. Pretty. Don't go there. But no. So let's talk about this because I think the access thing that you talked about really opens up another conversation, right? So we talked. I don't know how long ago. Maybe like even on our second he say she said. Mm-hmm. We talked about the reality of singleness until marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Like you are single until you're married, which means that you can say no until you are married, meaning that you're free, right? Until you make that choice to say this is who I'm going to be with, and this is who I commit to until death do us part. Yeah, you can say no, right? Now, someone put in the comments earlier, I forgot who it was, but they said it's too many choices or something like that. Like I forgot what they said, but basically it was like it's too many people out there to choose. And while I don't necessarily agree with that statement, I also feel as though sometimes it's not that the number of people is what's causing people to like be the quote unquote Christian Playboy. It's not the access to people as much as it is the rush to accept people the way they represented themselves at first. What I mean by that is because there's so like we have this, especially within our Christian context and within church, we have this pressure to be something that maybe that's not really who we are. Mm-hmm. And we put on this role because this is what we feel as though they would accept. And that goes both ways. That's not just men doing that. That's men and women doing that. So we play this role. We put our representative out there to say, this is who I believe this person would like.
Mhm.
And then we be that. And then the point at which they are de-armed and infatuated, you flip up and change. And it's like, wait, hold up, this is not who I thought I was. So I feel like because of the level of options out there, especially for men, a lot of times there's this competitive nature that takes on that says, I can be who I need to in order to win the affection of another individual. When in fact, what we have to do is resist the temptation to be anyone other than ourselves. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like it's not the level of access, because I know I've fallen. Now I can only talk about me. I can't talk about any of you other brothers out there. I can only talk about me. So if this strikes a chord with you, so be it. But I'm talking about me. I'm not putting nobody else out there. This is me. I'm gonna say it again. This is me. I know I have fallen prey to being attracted to who I thought someone was, that I acted out of who I was in order to stay with them, even when it came at the cost of my own integrity. See, we don't like to talk about that, like the fact that a lot of times we have, in order to keep something that we had to be dishonest to get, we had to continue to be dishonest to keep. Not saying dishonest as in like we are deceiving that person, but what we're really doing is deceiving ourselves to think that, okay, I can do it this way. And that's not really who you are. And then the point at which you've accepted, I can't fully assimilate to the person that I thought I had to be. That's when it's far too late, right? So once again, I can only talk about me. I can't talk about no other brother out there. But
so tell me, because you went all the way upside the mountain and came down. How about it you being a playboy? Tell the truth. Because you try to give us
no. So my dad
Bishop said that you are a playboy. Okay, so you came to, we're just trying to be who is, we're trying to please people and we're not. What is it?
No. So I was trying to make this more applicable to all of us. What my dad was referring to is something that I've talked about openly on the show, just about I was previously engaged, right? That where there were some things that weren't quite right within that relationship, and I ended that, right? That's a whole nother show, but I didn't necessarily end it, but it ended, right? So when my dad says that, like I know what he's referring to, okay? But it's not because I'm consistently it's not because I'm consistently out here just talking to people. I've admitted this as well. I'm also an introvert, so I'm not really with this whole
because
thing.
I'm so confused.
You're trying to attach your definition of Christian playboy to what my dad was saying.
Leave him alone.
Think that you are a Christian playboy, but
I'm not.
Bishop said he texted you and he said
you
are. So I wanted.
That's what he's referring to. He's referring to that particular.
He's putting dad pressure on, like hurry up and get married, boy, because I want some grandkids, and quit trying to be this little Christian playboy, and come on and get married so I can have some grandkids.
Which is interesting too, though, because I think that brings up another point. And my dad and I have had this conversation, and I know he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but there was a particular time or instance where there was a particular young lady who he really, really wanted me to talk to, and the whole church thing, right? Like you got somebody in your church who, my dad's a pastor, so he got somebody in his church who really, really wanted me to talk to. And I was like, yo, Pop, that is not gonna fly. And I think a lot of what he's referring to is more personal, but it speaks to the same things that we're talking about, where when you are single, there are like these pressures that people try to put on you to say, like, I want you to talk to this person and I want this to work out. And it's more about what they want than what it was about what I wanted. So, I went out with her and I didn't want it, didn't like it, or her, right? So that was just it. So it's not that I was a playboy as much as it was like I don't like her. Like it's okay for me not to like somebody. You feel me? But that, like I said, it's more personal with him. More so than like, I mean, I feel like in order to be a playboy, like I don't know how you gonna define that. But for me, if you're a playboy, you got like there. You feel me? For me, that's not me at all. Like I could name on this hand how many people I have dated in my life. So I'm not out here like that. You feel me?
That was fun.
So Dr. Shonda, I want to just go ahead and schedule an appointment for Lauren because I'm not sure what is happening in his life, but it seems like there are some things that he needs to further unpack that we're clearly not getting to tonight.
I just told you where his statement was.
I don't know what you said. So I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking
That's
about.
hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
No, so in all seriousness, I don't believe that you're a Christian playboy. When I speak about that, I believe that because there is the ratio is skewed, right? Like we know that when we go to church, and it's not that it's skewed in the world, period. Like there are just more women than there are men. But I think in the church, because of when you are a hot commodity. Like male or female, when people checking for you. You can sense when you walk in a room when people are checking you out. And basically, my definition of it is that men use that to their advantage. They know that there are a lot of single women that desire to get married. So they play the field. They have a roster, and they pretty much play a game until they get tired. They think that they are the prize. Now, you may be like that. I don't know what you do in your free time, but what you have perceived to be on this show, I don't know. That may be something I don't know, but just that playing on the hearts of women, or playing on the
emotion.
The emotions of women. Like just because you know that somebody wants something, that doesn't give you the right to manipulate it. So like, for example, if I'm honest, I don't know why this spirit of transparency always jumps on me when I get on here. But like, I know when a man is feeling me more than I'm feeling him. Right.
Sure.
I know there are certain things that I could say, certain ways I could influx my voice. I could baby you up even if you ain't my baby, and I could have lunch at work every day. Like I could have my car filled up. I could have whatever I want. For me to manipulate his emotions is wrong, even if it benefits me. So that's what I meant about Christian playboy. And it's not all. I know some amazing Christian. Shut up, Aaron. I know some amazing Christian men. So it's not. I would not dare say all Christian men, but there are some. They know. But there are some. The hottest, the hot young preacher. They don't even care nothing about what you're saying. You put your little suit on, and they slobbering all over your little Instagram pics. You know when you do that little smirk. You know what you're doing. You know who was in your inbox. All of that stuff. So Bishop, he said, we know Bishop. We love him. We love him so much. Yeah, I don't. I thank you, Bishop. Thank you. Thank you. I love Bishop. Bishop got to come on the show now because I love him.
My dad is hilarious.
Dad.
Yeah, that
is so funny.
My dad is hilarious.
So I never perceived you to be that, but there are men like that who
they are
like that. If they know, like I know, literally, when you walk into certain spaces, you can tell I'm the only man, I'm fine, or I'm the only this. You know how to manipulate your perceived advantage, and I'm not with that. That's not godly, and I'm not for it. So that's what I was talking about. So it's okay. We love you.
I love y'all too.
And you know what, Jen? It's even worse when they're like in leadership positions and things like that. Because I have I have a couple of male friends who are pastors, and I remember one of them telling me that there was another dog of a pastor who was telling him, "Oh, you should move to such and such a city because then all the women would be XYZ." And I'm like, if your purpose for building a church is to have all the women be XYZ, I feel sorry for you when you have to meet our maker, because you are manipulating and using your position to prey on women, that is not godly at all. And the women would just be all over you, and you would be, XYZ. He's like, man, I ain't doing that.
And the anointing makes you attractive. Like that, because not even that you're fine. When you're powerful in God, that is attractive. When you are doing, you flowing in the spirit, that is attractive. And we're not going to act like it's not. Like, it's some of the ugliest people that y'all, I'm like, what? He's not even cute. He's 5'12". Like, I don't understand. Like,
5'12" is 6 feet. I'm 5'12". I
don't know what y'all.
Here we go.
I don't understand. What is
it was a matter of time.
He can sing. He preached real good. The anointing is attractive. Power is attractive. Period. Yeah. A lot of people are attracted to power.
And I think that strikes a whole nother part of the conversation as well, Jen, because I think Andronique put in the comments, we talked about it, the fact that you are single until you're married. But I think, especially for those of us who are on here who are single, who got a little something going on, it's important for us to not confuse. There's a difference between making a decision about moving on versus working on, right? Like when you have options, it's real easy to just be like, you know what, I'm out. And that doesn't work, right? Like I think it's important that we know that, like, in relationships will require work, right? Like it's not going to be something you can just continue to move on. So I think it's important too that we emphasize the fact that while we are single and you do have a choice and you are single until you're married, until you make that commitment, that you're never going to run into somebody who's perfect, who's got who's absolutely 100% doesn't make mistakes. Like, you're never going to run into that person. And we can't cancel the person that we're in a relationship with just because they made a mistake one time or they said something that triggered something in you, right? Like, you don't cancel that person, but you communicate with that person and say, hey, listen, like, there's some things here that we need to discuss, or there's some things here that I'm not necessarily in agreement with, or maybe there are some preferential things or some standard things that we got to talk about. So Lawrence is redeeming himself. Y'all funny.
But stop. Can you put a pen right there?
Wait, you know what?
Go ahead, David.
As you were saying that, Lawrence, it made me think of something else that gets on my nerves, and it's something that we women do, because we say that we want a man that's spiritual, right? And we expect that because he is spiritual, because he has a prayer life and he reads his Bible and all of those things, that he is going to be able to successfully lead our family perfectly because he hears from the Lord, right? But if you look at everybody in the Bible who literally heard from the Lord, Abraham literally had a visitation from the Lord right in front of his face, and he still sold his wife out. Like, so when you look at, we want a spiritual man. Yes, we do. And I'm not saying, please, hear me when I say you definitely want a spiritual man. But to expect that man, just because he is spiritual and in touch with God, to hear from God perfectly well all the time is a fallacy. He's going to get it wrong sometimes. You got to be able to ride with him when he gets it wrong sometimes.
That's real.
That's let me tell you, it's a hard pill to swallow. It is a hard pill to swallow. And let me tell you what the benefit of having a spiritual man is when you go to God about the situation, if he really is in tune with the Lord, he's either going to get in alignment, or the Lord is going to fix you, or the Lord will fix that situation. And it's harder to do with people who don't have that same relationship with the Lord that you have. But to expect these men of God to be absolutely perfect and wonderful and all that stuff just because we want them to be spiritual doesn't mean they're going to get it right all the time. And that's too much pressure to put on one man.
Yeah. No, I agree. Spirituality on our level in God, or however we want to frame the term, that doesn't cancel out our humanity. So as much as we can be spiritual, as much as we can be warriors in the spirit, as much as we can be virtuous, or any of those other godly traits that we've built up, it doesn't take away from the fact that we're still made of clay, that we're still flesh.
Right.
And so there has to be an understanding that even though there's a power level on that side, there also has to still be a building on the human side, because just because we have X amount of power doesn't mean that we're no longer people. It doesn't negate us from the problems of life. You could be as powerful as you want to, but sometimes your money might be low. You could be as powerful as you want to, but you're still going to face some of those situations in life that are just life situations. Like, you're not going to have that perfect life. And so, Dana, I agree in totality. You can't find someone that makes up for human deficiencies in spirituality. You just have to find someone that's worth the fight, because no matter who you settle down with, it's going to be a fight. And you have to say at the end of the day, I'm glad I chose you.
Right.
Okay, well, let's go here, because that's amazing. But what is cancel worthy? Like, because I feel like, and at what stage, do I start giving you grace? Because one of the things that, I definitely agree with Dana saying that women expect for men to be superheroes a lot and get everything right. Mm-hmm. However, I do think that we are taught so much to do X, Y, and Z that we're just these little perfect homemakers. So it's like, what you mean you can't build a house? I didn't learn how to cook for 12 years because I wanted to be with you. You know what I mean? Like, so what you mean? Like, I'm cleaning baseboards. Like, what you mean you don't know how to do X, Y, and Z? So what is cancel worthy? Like, when do you know whether it's potential or wasting your time? Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm really good at this. How do you know what I mean?
Come on, Friday.
Like, what's cancel worthy? So if I say I'm gonna ride with you, because sometimes I've been riding with some dummies, right? I've been riding too long. Yeah. So when do I know when to get off the car?
Pull over.
Right.
I feel like some things you encounter are problematic, but for me, here's where I cancel it, right? When the problem is not, for me, just noticed as a problem, but it's observed as a pattern. Once I figure out that this is something that is like a pattern for you, that is not something that you objectively and consistently work to fix, right? So here's, for instance, right? One of my things that I am a no-nonsense person with is the way we communicate with one another. I am not somebody who can maintain relationship with people who don't know how to speak to one another. Mm-hmm. So you can be upset, but we're not yelling at each other. That's not something we're doing, right? No, absolutely. Yelling? No. Now, yelling is different than like having passionate conversations. That's different. But the moment that, and here's the difference that I make, right? And it's far less to do with, because I know, like, or at least I've been trying to be more aware of my own self. So I know how I can view certain things, but it's only yelling me, right? Like, the difference that I make between that distinction is, like, you can have passionate conversation, but the moment that passion turns into disrespect,
okay,
we that's yelling. We're not yelling. We can be passionate, but we're not doing that. So that's something that's I don't do that, right? Now, it's not to say that someone can't have that in them, but what it is to say is, if I notice that there's no attempt to curb that, right? You don't try to abase that within yourself, and that's something that you would say that I have to accept because that's who you are, then that's a cancel thing. So that's an example of a pattern, right? Like, this is something that continues and you don't accept or you don't want that to change. Mm-hmm. So for me, cancel is when we say, hey, this is something that's a part of who I am and I'm not changing it, and you can deal with it or not. I'm just not.
Okay. Yeah. Give me something else cancel worthy. What's cancel worthy?
Somebody who's not teachable, right? So, like, if you do have that pattern Lawrence was talking about, like, if you are a yeller or whatever, and you're not willing to hear that person and to change those negative patterns of interaction, then that's when it's time to cut the deuces. If I see a pattern, I'm not quick to cancel you. Like personally, I see families like all day who have patterns of negative communication, patterns of negative parenting, and that doesn't necessarily mean that pattern can't be disrupted. It's a matter of it has to be on both ends. Like the person, the receiver has to be willing to change, and the person who's giving the information has to be willing to communicate that thing that they want to change. But overall patterns can be disrupted. So
So are you saying that, no, because I'm talking to the doc now. So are you saying that you're okay with the pattern as long as they can be coached out of it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that yes, like patterns can be changed, absolutely. Like I'm not saying I'm okay with somebody yelling at me, but we can talk about this and work our way out of it. I don't think it's cancel-worthy though if you see a pattern, because that's
Okay.
That person knows that that's one of their issues and they want to change it. Because there's a difference. There are some things that we all know that we have to change about ourselves. There's some things, that we know that we want to change. And if our partner recognizes those things in us, and we're both working, you know that I'm at least working on it, and you know that I'm at least aware of it, and I'm not going to try to just sweep it under the rug. That's different from somebody who knows they're hateful and refuses to change.
Yeah.
Patterns
they have
can
to see the pattern
they
though.
have to be willing to change them.
Right.
Okay, so let me throw this back out there, because there may be some other singles out there in the chat who might be dealing with something similar to this. Okay, so I'm throwing this back at you. I'm saying they've acknowledged it, right? So you tell me, hey, the way that you were talking last week was like when you started talking about like what you will and will not do, you got real strong on that, and that's really a problem for me. And then I say to you, okay, I accept that. That's an issue. I'll work on it, right? But I continue, right? And then you come back to me and you're like, hey, Lawrence, you're doing that again. And I know we said we were gonna work on that. And I say, okay, yeah, you're right. But then it happens again. At what point?
So look, the reason why the person didn't change is because when you provided the feedback, you didn't give an expectation. You didn't say, I didn't like you how you were talking to me, therefore I would rather you say it this way. So of course the person might fall back into that negative pattern. So if you're going to be willing to give the feedback to the person, you have to let them know the different pattern that you want them to follow.
And how long must we circle this mountain of you got some issues with the way that you communicate? How long is that an issue that you're willing to deal with? I think that's the question that we got to ask ourselves, because it's like, because some of us, and I talked about this on my podcast, where it's like, there's a proverb.
Okay, plug. Go ahead.
There's a proverb that says, rescue those who are on their way to slaughter, but help those who are stumbling on their way there, right? On their way to slaughter. So there's two different demographics of people that says, okay, there are some, and it's in Proverbs 24, where it says that there are some people who they are out of control, where like there's something in their life or there's someone in their life where they don't have control, where maybe that's a substance abuse thing, or where it's like they literally don't have control, like they are sick, or there's someone else who's pulling their strings. But then there are others who are just stumbling. They're making their own decisions. They're doing what they want to do, but they're making the wrong decisions, right? We can exert, a lot of times in relationships, we can exert rescuing energy on people who simply need restraint. So like, how long are you willing to exert that energy on somebody who's making their own decisions? They're doing their own thing. They know they're making the wrong one, but they're going to continue to do that. How long are you willing to deal with that? And then at what point do you address that and just say, I'm out?
Right. I don't know. I feel like you can't quantify it. That's going to be different for everybody. Yeah. Me personally, I'm single, so I'm not going to be putting up with that too long.
But that's what I was getting ready to say. Like, I think that we have to be careful with putting, just not labels, but your grace is not my grace. My expectations is not your expectations. So
Right.
things that you may not be able to tolerate. Now, let me be very clear. We're not tolerating abuse. We're not tolerating disrespect. We're not tolerating things like that will cause us bodily harm and things like that. But there are, I mean, that's why we're different. That's why we will have different partners, because our grace and our capacity is different. For me, I am do not lie to me. Like, lying.
A lie to me.
If you lie, like my mother said, Shirley always said, if you lie, you'll steal. If you steal, you'll chill. If you cheat, you'll kill somebody. Like, if you are a liar, you're a liar. Like, you just don't. It ain't no truth in you. Like, you are no. Because I feel that I am very, if you don't want to tell me, you better write me a letter. But if you lie and you come up with something, and I like for any reason, it's an automatic cancellation. Because for me, that's a part of the communication piece. I'm very open. I literally will tell people when I start dating.
Thanks, WT.
When I start dating them, thank you. That you can literally tell me anything. Do not allow me to walk into something blindsided. Because if I walk into something blindsided and somebody else has to tell me, you're out of here. Like, I don't lie to me.
Yeah.
You don't have to lie. Especially in the dating process. You're not my husband. Like, what you lying for?
Any explanation.
Right.
Be you.
Right.
Why are you lying? Do not, if you lie, that's it. You might as well say, don't call me no more. Do not embarrass me. Do not, if you feel like you get ready to do something that's going to be embarrassing, cancel yourself.
Yeah. I think it's going to boil down to three things, especially for me. And those three things it's just going to have to be a certain level of willingness, and to progress. Is going to be, honesty, and then progression. And I think as long as those three things are in play, there's no need to be out here canceling folks. But once those are things that are not those things are not in the pot, those things are not being cooked up, then that's when we have an issue, right? When there's a pattern, as we've been saying, or when there's a situation and there's no willingness to change it, there's no willingness to change the stance, there's no willingness to change what's going on. I hear Jonathan Nelson in my spirit, where he said, "So long, bye bye." That's what I feel.
That's it. Yes.
That's what the songwriter said, and that's what I feel right through there. But I think it's going to boil down to those three things. And Janice, like you said, lying is just, and especially right now, you owe me nothing, and so there's absolutely no reason to lie now. If you would lie now, and then in the future you owe me everything.
You a whole liar! Like, you literally will create scenarios for me to bust you in the mouth, like, because you.
I'm scared. I am scared, and so those are, as Lawrence has told us many times, those are non-negotiables. We can't get around those.
Here's something that I think is really key and important, and my dad is like no longer joking in my text messages, and he brought up a good point, which I wanted to share, is that I think one of the things that we have to make sure that we do is that in order to be honest with the people that we're, and this is why it's really important to get this down in your single season, is because a lot of times when we get into these relationships, we feel so much pressure to stay in them or for them to work that we're not honest with ourselves. So it's like I lie to keep you, right? And it ain't because I did anything nefarious, but it's because I'm willing to say I'm cool with something that I wasn't cool with. I'll say I'm cool with something that I really wasn't cool with because I wanted to keep you, right? So I lied to you. Those are the things that we really got to make sure that we get down, that we're so okay. And Jen, you brought this up earlier, is that we're so okay with ourselves that we look at ourselves and we are whole. And I'm okay with who I am. I'm okay with what my pastor said this. He said you have to be non-judgmentally clear about who you are, where you don't judge yourself for what you want and who you are. I don't judge myself for wanting someone who's a particular way, who likes to be busy. I don't judge myself for someone who's affectionate. I don't judge myself for someone who's good with quality time. I don't judge myself. That's just what I want, and I don't judge myself for it, which means you could get in relationship with people, or you can get into dating seasons with people who aren't that way, and it's okay for you to say that's just not what I want. So I think it's important that we're so incredibly clear about who we are first, that we can be honest first with ourselves. And then you can be honest with the people that you're talking to, dating and gathering data about, so that you can make the decision on whether or not you want to be with them for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. But it's a constant evolution too. Like it's a constant, like, because who I was at 25 is not who I am now. So I think allowing yourself to grow and understanding your boundaries, your expectations, and that's a good thing. Like, not necessarily I have more expectations, but it's just different. I'm not the same woman that I was. So with that, I'm giving myself the grace to grow, to say, maybe before I would have been okay with that, but right now I'm really not. And that's not, and that's even with my friendships too. Like, I'm not okay, like, with that. Like, you are not allowed to treat me like that, and that's not something that I'm accepting.
Right. And it changes, like you said, it changes as we develop over time, as we develop in our faith, our maturity level, and it's okay. But yeah, can I address something that's like really surface level? That's
come on.
I feel like one thing that's canceled worthy for me: don't embarrass me on social media. Like, don't be out here commenting on Angela Simmons pictures. Don't be leaving heart eye emojis on like these Instagram celebs pictures. Like, just don't do that. Like, if you feel the need to do that over there. You don't have to be with me and do that. Like, you're not about to embarrass me on Instagram. No, because then they're gonna be like, oh, that's who she talked to. She all under his picture. Like, no.
Especially when people know y'all together, right? Like,
yes, that's a mess.
So what's too far?
Social media has made it hard to date. Like,
yes,
it's just crazy. It's made it hard to date because everything is just so public, and everything in your relationship is not meant for public consumption. Some things should just be between y'all. Everything don't have to be posted. Everything, like, my goodness.
No, but even for me, even if they don't know, don't do it, because I will punch you. Like, it's not that they know you my man. Like, even if you I'm not telling my business. I'm going to check under those comments.
Before I got delivered, I don't check anymore.
Oh, I'll be checking because I want to know, what have you said to her for her to think that these heart eyes are okay? And
exactly.
What heart eyes are they? Because I need to know. Even if you don't know, because guess what? You don't. You're not gonna know.
That's so funny.
I think know. You don't know if I'm dating or not, but he know.
Right, he know. And don't be leaving no heart eyes under his pictures, and he better not reply.
And that's why I think it's important too, that like clear things, that those are clear.
What are you reading? You're not even reading any scriptures. What are you reading?
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
I don't have to play with you,
right?
Because I need to know what's the you telling jokes, and everything you say, she laughing. He not that funny. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Everything you post.
Now, like, all of y'all on here have some pretty wide followings on social media. So, stop, Dan. This don't make sense. But so all of y'all, in some sense, know what it's like to deal with people who you may not even know, who are very forward, right? Especially our ladies on the screen, right? It's a little bit different for guys. But in that, I think it's important that the people that you talk to, anyone who's in spaces like that, are sensitive to the space that you're in. So it's like, look, I got people who are going to follow me, who are going to say stuff, who are going to put stuff in my comments. That's flat out what's going to happen. I don't control them. I control me. So I control what my responses are, right? I control how I engage with them. And if I can do that in a way that's respectful, that is not putting myself out there for any sort of commentary about, because here's the thing that I really identify with you on, Shonda, is that I never, and it's not even about what other people look at right now. It is embarrassing, but it's not even about that. But I never want to feel like I put myself in a position to have let's just keep it in the book, right? I never want to put myself in a position where my good is being evil spoken of. It's just not wise. Like it's not worth it, right? Like you could have so for instance, right? I love fashion. I do. I love different styles. I love it all. But I'd be foolish to see something that I think is very, very fashionable, but it's on a woman who's, kind of out there.
She's naked.
Right. And then I could even, right, like very, very pointed. I could even not even be on nothing, but I could comment something, right? Like, and I had this thought the other day. There's this one comedian on Instagram. He's absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But I don't like a lot of his content because it's very raunchy, right? And I don't comment on a lot of it because I don't comment on any of it because it's very, very raunchy. And I never want my name attached to something that doesn't necessarily represent who I am. So I think it's also important that we do that also within our relationships, because a lot of times certain things you do can be taken far out of what it was intended for. You're not only responsible for what you do and what the intent was behind what you do, you're also responsible for how it's received. So you can't be just out here commenting on everybody's stuff, and then let's talk about your DM.
You can do whatever you want to do. You're just not talking to me. Do whatever you feel. You will not be talking to me.
Right.
Comment on the picture if you want to. Do it.
Reply to a comment.
That's funny.
Leave those hard eyes if you want to. You are willing. Because I don't want this to seem like it's no dictatorship. No. We're not married. You are free. You are free to do whatever you want to do. You won't do it with me. God bless you, man. You won't do it.
It ties directly into what was said earlier, where we were talking about respect and disrespect. Just don't be doing that to nobody. Like is disrespectful. What you're saying is, I don't think enough of you to have your best interest at heart, even on social media. And so it's just like Lawrence just said. It's super, super, super important. It's not sometimes it's not necessarily the action. It's about the perception. And we have to make sure that we're accountable for both. If we're going to be honest, and if we're going to go by the word, we are absolutely accountable by both. And so, all right, what we're not going to do is continuously attack Lawrence all night.
My dad was joking.
That's what we're not going to do.
Lawrence is not being attacked. He said,
"Look at that comment." That's not being attacked, Jen.
But I just feel like if you don't set those boundaries,
what'd you say, Dr.
if you don't set those boundaries on social media with other females, like who's to say you won't set those boundaries in your DM when they start talking, when they texting you late at night? Like, I don't know. That's just me.
Ooh,
but that's where the boundaries are really important, because it goes far beyond social media. You feel me? Like this is something that I even learned as a very young person, like growing up in church with my father being who he is and his father being who he is. People gonna be in your face, but it's about how you handle them being in your face that allows you to remain above reproach. And that's not just to the masses of people, but that's in your everyday relationships. I never want to have to be approached by my spouse about something that was even perceived to have been in poor taste, right? Like, I never even put myself in that position. So you really have to make sure you draw those boundaries. And that's not just a social media thing. That is a life thing. That is in person, especially too. We have to recognize there are, I don't know, 7.7 billion people in this world, right? There's a lot of people in this world. Everybody don't know you like that. And there's some people who might see you and they don't even know that you're married. They don't know that you got a relationship. And they just approaching, right? So
how they don't know?
No. There's somebody that's gonna walk, like once we out of this season, right? There are some people who will walk past you on the street, Jen, and they don't know if you got somebody.
Oh, you talking about we not married?
You're right. I'm just saying, like you're not right, like you're dating or whatever, right? And then even too, because like some people, I know for me, like when I'm wearing a ring, I fidget, right? So when I'm working or if there's something like when I'm doing public speaking, I usually wear my class ring. I'll take that off for some certain things because I don't want it to be something that I'm fidgeting with. I want to be focused. This is just a tick for me. So sometimes you're not wearing that representation, right? I think
Sometimes you don't care if you are.
I think when I get married, I think I'm gonna get a tattoo though. But in any case, I
There
feel
you
like
go. Now you want to be
I'm
carnal.
gonna do that right there. But
Now you
but-
want to be carnal.
I'm gonna be carnal. But I say that to say that there's some people who will approach you and they don't know. But if you have already drawn that boundary before having that encounter, you already know how you're gonna behave, how you're gonna respond to that. It's when we haven't set those boundaries before we go into it that we end up falling in trouble, which I think falls into a whole nother conversation when we talk about even within our interpersonal relationships, where we say, well, I didn't make it clear that I wasn't crossing this boundary before I got to the situation where the opportunity to cross the boundary was presented. And that's when you get in trouble.
Okay.
You got to draw those boundaries before. Like that's got to be something within you that you draw that boundary beforehand.
Okay.
Jim, what's on your mind?
Nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing.
That's so funny.
It's
And that goes both ways too. That ain't just men, that's women too.
What
What you mean?
Well, personally, I don't delete the heart eyes because that messed up my engagement. But I will reply back and say, thank you. Did you check out my website or did you download my app? I'm an entrepreneur at the end
Keep
of the
that
day.
engagement up. Keep that engagement up.
Right, exactly. That's all that matters.
I think it's a good time to talk about engagement too. That at some point, this whole Corona thing will be over, and people will be gathering again. They will be in public spaces. They will be in numbers. And if you are ever thinking about having something that you want people to have numbers for, then it's important that you get the playbook on how to do that. So if you have not already,
boy,
Here
got
you go.
we shut it
to
down.
conferenceinaclick.com, www.conferenceinaclick.com. Because you want to make sure, look, this is the time where everybody's pivoting, and you want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to pivot, not just in your dating,
You
but
pivot and
also in your business,
prosper.
in your events, everything. So
My
go to conferenceinaclick.com today. Make sure you go get this.
That's
There
right.
it is. There it is. Good job.
The principal's not here to advertise. Thank you for making sure that we did our
Make sure
commercial
that-
for tonight.
Word from our sponsor.
.com.
You're powerful, Doc. You're powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where that came from. I don't even know what the transition piece was.
Yeah, just made that.
It wasn't smooth at all, actually. It wasn't.
At all. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Turbulence.
God just did a quick work, and I'm still trying to figure out what he did. That's a lot.
Oh, we think, go ahead and go right now to conferenceinaclick.com.
Conferenceinaclick.com.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That boy's good. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Woo! We thank God for Lawrence on tonight. We thank God.
Tonight. Where did that come from, Jen? Where did we get the on from? I feel like that's something that we do specifically.
idea.
Yes.
There's so many church nuances. Who calls we're the only ones that call it a foyer. Like we say and do so many things that are
The
just.
vestibule. It's the vestibule.
There you go, Doc. There you go. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I
That's
like
a
the
lot.
churchiness though. So anybody
I
have
love
any last thing they want to Lawrence is the assistant principal. He was almost in detention. When we started, he was almost in detention. So I guess I'll get back up there.
My
The
goodness.
man at all was a playboy, but the Lord has delivered him and set him free.
My
And we
God.
thank God for your personal deliverance and where the Lord is taking you to. Any last thing about things that you're tired of hearing? We're going to try to wind down in the next 5 minutes. Anything you're tired of hearing about singleness? I got one more, but I don't. I goes off. So I'm waiting on y'all.
Go for it.
Let's have it.
I'm tired of this notion that all women are pressed because a lot of us are not.
Mm-mm.
And if anything, some of y'all be pressed, but that's a story for another day. So
That's not that no, it's not that guys are and girls aren't, right? Like men and women are equally pressed. There are men that you'll find who are pressed, and there are women that you will find who are pressed. It ain't a men are pressed and women aren't.
No, I didn't say either one. I said all of us are not pressed. That was what I said. All of us are not pressed.
Yeah, but you're not gonna put it on us like we are.
No, so this is what I don't understand. Why is it that when I say some, it's like y'all totally missed the some. Some of y'all. That means not exclusively titled to all. Like some of
Guys
y'all
in church
are
do be
pressed.
pressed.
Panini pressed. Like
So you just gonna make that general statement, Sean?
Yes. Don't backpedal, Jen. Guys in the church do be pressed.
Ooh.
Period.
Well,
She said it.
when she comes out.
Hold on, because I ain't pressed. If there's anything I'm pressed on, I'm pressed about my work. I'm pressed on that. I ain't look.
But y'all not from this planet. We established that already.
Ooh.
But you guys are different.
Y'all a different breed.
You know what? I
I
can't invalidate your experiences. I'm sure that you have encountered the pressed church guy. I'm sure. So we won't invalidate your experiences. However, I would say that that guys aren't.
Manpower.
That is fucking me in
Mighty
trouble.
Savior. Oh,
Yo, please stop putting this stuff on the screen. Yo, you're not in trouble.
Bishop is powerful. Do you hear me?
I'm not trying
Powerful.
to create no division between the brothers and the sisters. That's not what I'm trying to do.
So it's not division, bro. All I'm saying is what I said is not all women are pressed. Some of us aren't.
That's real.
That's all I said.
Y'all see Bishop's last
There you
comment
go.
though?
But then on the back end of that, you said, but the truth is, a lot of brothers.
Wait.
Y'all see
Bishop,
Y'all see Bishop's last comment?
Men don't get pressed until we get married. Men get on your mind.
Can somebody send Bishop the link? My God.
Please don't send Bishop the link.
Get Doc a link. Get Doc a link.
Ooh, no, we can
That is funny.
Bishop, you got your vestments on? We need Bishop in here.
Hey, it's Wednesday. He might.
Bishop, don't come in here without a collar down. I need to see the collar.
You won't stop until you get her. I know that's right. Tell her, thank you.
That's wild.
Woo!
Anybody else got anything else that we're tired of hearing? We didn't go through all of them. We just went through some of them that was on our hearts. Any?
Can I throw this one out there?
Uh-huh.
I feel like one of the things that I don't necessarily like hearing from married people is how much life stops in marriage. You know what I mean? Because that could be extremely discouraging. You know what I mean? And that's not a lot of people out there who I won't say it's not a lot. It is a lot, but it's not everybody out there who does that. But it seems like when you talk to single people who are like at that point where they're thinking about it, where they're saying, you know what, like I'm interested in going into that next phase of life where I'm interested in getting married. There's potentially somebody out there or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh man, you know, I mean, like you get married, it's all over. You sure you want to do that? It's like it's this constant dichotomy between you ain't found somebody yet and your life gonna end when you get married. Yeah. That's something else that I don't like.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. It's just a different portion.
That's good.
Anyone else? Mm-hmm. All right, well, we get ready to wrap up.
One last thing.
Come on,
just because I'm single doesn't mean that I'm not busy. Like, don't be asking me to be on your committees and like doing this and that. Like, no, I'm busy.
That's real. That's real.
People do it like at jobs, like all that.
Mm-hmm. I said it's okay to be busy doing your own stuff, even if I'm busy and I'm just taking a nap. Leave me alone. My time is mine. It's mine.
That's real.
Yeah, that is good. That is real.
Yeah, we definitely have lives. I definitely have a calendar. I'm definitely not always available. And guess what? Even if I do have some free time, that does not mean it's yours. So it doesn't mean it's yours. I'm tired of people who've been married 5 minutes.
Yo,
Marital advice.
they be having a conference, a book. They be having marriage retreats and be divorced after 2 months and a couple days.
All of them. Not all of them.
Not all
but
of
we
them.
get the gist of it. Anybody else got anything else to say? That's right. I'm not your built-in babysitter because you will try to drop them off and I won't be here. God bless you.
What?
Yeah.
You'll try. I won't be here. I'm not.
That is.
So we're getting ready to wrap up. So whatever your facts, some people. Yes, that is absolutely true. So again, some people have been sending me some things they want us to discuss, and I will. If I'm honest, I couldn't find them all in my inboxes, but I will get them, and we will talk about some of the things that you want to talk about on Singles Chat, because we definitely do this with you in mind. I want to be I want to make sure, because I don't know if I did this in the beginning, I always try to, it's to make sure we give honor to our visionary and founder, the Elder Mark Moore Jr.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that we do out of tradition. It's really because we love and we honor him, and we are thankful for this space. And just him seeing the vision and the need to have a space for singles to come and talk about the things that are on our heart, to be unfiltered, to be, sometimes we're funny, sometimes we're serious, but to really have a space for us. So we do not take that for granted. We love you, Elder Mark Moore Jr. And also make sure tomorrow is Spirit and Truth. If you are not subscribed to YLC TV, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but this is a whole movement. Like, this is a whole channel. So, of course, we thank you for watching our show consistently, but All Things New is on Friday. Spirit and Truth is on Thursdays. I think we're almost done. Quarantine's Got Talent. I know they had one of our it's one on Friday night as well. So make sure you're tuned in to the things that are going on going on the channel. It's so many good episodes. Preacher Talk is back. It was amazing on Monday.
All you gotta do is subscribe. If you subscribe and click the notification. If you subscribe to the channel and click the little bell, you'll get the notification every time it goes live.
Every time. No fail.
All right. So we are done for the evening. We will see you guys next Wednesday. We love you. Have an incredible week.